Moving on to asphalt, you want to be aware of the tires, which is a bit different than on gravel. You have wet weather tires, and also for Monte Carlo winter, you have winter tires for the icy sections. So the tire choice is more important on tarmac, because if you have dry tires on a wet surface, you'll lose a lot of time and it's more easy to go off the road and crash. So you need to look at the full schedule, like I said, through the event details, and also take a look at your tire options. And asphalt rain is going to be really important for any wet stages. So on tarmac,
don't cut. left, 2 left, big long, 4 right sharp, 1 left, long, 50 this way, short, 50 over finish, 4 left to stop,
Tarmac driving, how is that different than gravel? Well, the biggest difference is how the surface interacts with the tires, and on tarmac you have much bigger wheels, lower profile tire, bigger brakes, and what this means is that everything is more rigid. The suspension is also much lower, so the car is very stiff, and the grip that you get from the surface is also a lot better. So that means that the window of when you lose traction is much more abrupt. So you have to be smoother with your inputs on tarmac in terms of steering input especially. So as you'll notice, my steering input is a lot less jagged. I'm not as edgy with the steering wheel. I'm more steer in, hit the apex, and then steer out a bit more like a racing driver style. On the braking, because you got bigger brakes and you've got more grip, you can really be aggressive and use the engine braking also to enter the corner. And the big thing with asphalt and tarmac driving is that you don't want to have the rear slide past the front axle, and if you can remember this, it will be really beneficial, because when the rear starts to bypass the front wheels, you've gone too far and you're going to lose momentum. You're going to have moments. What we're really looking for is a rotation where you turn in, the front maybe starts to slip slightly on the tires, but then eventually the rear starts to rotate, but it never goes past the front axle. It never steps out too far. On the hairpins, you're really looking to brake in a straight line. On gravel, you would be moving the steering wheel more, but on tarmac, you're braking in a straight line, and then when you come to the entry of the hairpin, we're turning in, and whilst we've got the weight on the front wheels and we've turned towards the corner, then we give a quick but precise handbrake pull just to lock the rear wheels and rotate the car. The worst thing you can do in that moment is then already be counter steering, so you still need to keep turning into the corner whilst you've pulled the handbrake, and continue to turn while you go back in the throttle to continue the transfer at the rear, the traction loss. To increase that, you go back on the throttle, and yeah, you should have a nice flow throughout the corner. I think on tarmac too, it's really good to try to use a higher gear where possible. You want to use the torque of the engine, and yeah, you don't want to downshift just to pull a gear immediately on the apex. You can try to maintain, you know, 4th or 5th through, you know, even a 4 left, 4 right. You could try to take that in 5th gear and just use the momentum, the torque of the engine to pull you through. One thing to be aware of is that the track edges are more dangerous in terms of losing control when you're in a tarmac location, because with a tarmac tire, when you touch the gravel or the grass, the traction loss is like instant, and it'll be very easy just to lose control of the car. So when you do run wide, you need to be aware that when you touch the, let's say, the back tire on the grass or the gravel, you could lose control because that tire is already extremely loaded. On the inside tire isn't as loaded, so if you want to take a little like nibble, like there, you can nibble the inside of the corner, take a small cut. Don't take any big cuts because that's not fair. But yeah, rallying, you're trying to maximize the road and take as much as possible. So usually if you take a cut, the inside tires are not loaded, the outside tires are loaded, so it's less likely you're going to lose control. when it starts to have some wet weather on tarmac, you're gonna have to have a slightly different driving style because the grip is lower, but the window of grip is similar to being on the dry. Like, it's not like driving on gravel where even though the grip is low, you can flow the car, you can throw it around and have a nice rhythm. Even in wet tarmac, you can't do that with the car. You can't chuck it in and just slide everywhere because you still have this underlying window of grip with the tire, known as a slip angle essentially, but you still have to be really precise. But when it's wet, if you brake too hard, you can lock the wheels very easily and then you'll miss the corner, especially if you lock the front axle or the steering. Be easy to do that and then you miss the entry of the corner or go off. So that's probably the main thing with tarmac in wet conditions, is you need to be really gentle with your braking and also your steering input, not to lose control on the entry of the corner, and always be smooth in, and then you can be a little bit more aggressive on the exit of the corner, I think.